Alrighty, friends. Welcome to the Vulnerability Hangover. This is Nikki Dunkel. I'm your host. And here's my little co-host, who's my emotional support dog, Enzo. And today we are drinking a Poppy probiotic for all my ASMR folks. It's one of my favorite drinks. It's the flavor Raspberry Rose. So it's going to be helping us get through our first episode. Here we go. Cheers. This is my Star Galaxy wine glass my friend Holly got me for my 21st birthday. And want to give a shout out to my friend Lana for always recommending I drink my kombucha or anything fun in a wine glass. So cheers. And let's get this started. So hi, hello, and welcome. This is a safe space. I'm your host, Nikki Dunkel, and this is the introduction to my podcast, The Vulnerability Hangover. I wanted to start off this episode with a quote from Brené Brown, who was part of the inspiration for why I started this podcast in the first place. The quote goes, "Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy, the experiences that make us most vulnerable. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness, we will discover the infinite power of our light." So this podcast has been a long time coming. I've basically been talking about it since 2018. I've wanted to start this podcast. I've had this name for several years now. I just haven't really gotten the chance to really dive deep into this, and I think this couldn't have come at a better time. The reason I'm starting this podcast in the first place and why this feels like divine timing for me is because I'm currently going through my healing journey. I just got out of a really long relationship, and it made me realize that I don't even know if I really knew who I was in the first place. So I've really been able to dive deep into getting to know myself more. And I feel like I've finally gotten to the point where I have filled my cup so much that I'm just overflowing, and I want to be able to help others fill their own cup. I've also come to realize that though I preach about vulnerability and brag about how vulnerable I am with others, I am in fact not a very vulnerable person. I think that really has held me back from fully coming into my true authentic self. So throughout my healing journey, I've started to find my purpose. I feel deep down my soul came here to teach and be taught. I love to learn, whether it's with love, kindness, and how I navigate challenges. I feel like not only have I learned from a lot of people, but I think a lot of people can learn from my experiences. I always say I've had like some of the craziest life stories, and a lot of the times they seem unbelievable, but I think the reason why I've been through these crazy experiences is because I have something to teach others. And if I can prevent someone from making the same mistakes, that's huge for me. Another reason why I started this podcast is because I really enjoy learning from others and hearing their stories. And I want to make sure that this platform is created in a way where others feel like this truly is a safe place to tell their story and have others learn from them as well. I think each person that you meet can teach you things, and people's minds are very interesting to me. So this year in particular significantly catapults me into my self-discovery. So my first 10 episodes are going to be with just me and my good old emotional support dog and cat. She'll probably pop in every once in a while. But then after that, I am going to have other guests on who are willing to open up and tell their own stories and talk about their journey. I do want to give a trigger warning. A lot of these topics that I'm going to be going over with myself in specific can and will involve trauma, eating disorders, thoughts of suicide, so suicidal ideation, depression, anxiety, CPTSD, and other things, I'll be sure to put disclaimers before I even start on talking about them. But for now, we're going to start off slowly. So this is just an episode that is kind of a trial run for me. And I'm going to just kind of let everything that comes to mind flow out of my mouth. One thing that's really helped me with my healing journey is being able to experience it with other people. So when I was going through my breakup this year, I actually met a really good friend who is going through kind of a similar experience. She was also going through a breakup. I'm not going into details about either situation just because the people who are involved are not here to speak. But when I was going through that experience, I remember laying in bed and thinking, oh my gosh, I have nobody. I don't have any friends really. I don't have a super close family. Like, I don't know where to go. And I was, of course, living with this person, and I just felt so lost, and it made me realize I don't know what's going to happen after this because I got so comfortable. And I think being uncomfortable is one of the most beautiful things because you can learn so much in these situations, and it really brings forward the people who are meant to be in your life and the people who are not meant to be in your life either. So going through that hardship and being able to navigate this experience with someone who's going through something similar and learn a lot throughout the process too, and learn a lot about myself and navigate different experiences in different ways that I normally would have a complete opposite reaction. Another thing that I've been really focusing on is protecting my peace. Growing up, I was constantly in fight or flight, and I don't think I've really gotten out of fight or flight to this day, but my nervous system feels a lot more calm. I noticed that protecting my peace has been so important to me, and I've always been an intuitive person, but now more than ever, I've learned to trust my gut, and I think that's helped calm my nervous system so much. So if something feels even remotely off, I always feel like my intuition hides kind of in my stomach or my chest area. So if I start feeling like a almost pit in my stomach or this tingly sensation in my chest that's not chills, it feels almost like there's needles in my chest, I am like, I cannot do this. I know for a fact there is something wrong with this situation. So what does being vulnerable mean to me? I think it's kind of an abundance of things. Whatever you're really comfortable with talking about or experiencing, but vulnerability is allowing yourself to be exactly who you are and allowing others to see exactly who you are. I think we're in a time where everyone kind of puts up a huge facade. I know I'm guilty of it, especially in the day and age of social media. You never really get to see true, authentic people. And I think it also goes back to intuition. You can tell when someone is not being truthful, or you can tell if someone's not being authentic. I think with this platform, I'm going to go through the motions of being vulnerable. I think my first 10 episodes are going to be difficult to talk about. My first 10 episodes I plan on having be completely solo, and they're going to be stories about myself. I don't really like the term stories, actually. They're going to be my truth, my experiences that I went through, and hopefully with my experiences it helps others, whether they've gone through the same experience or are possibly going to be going through the same experience. This year was extremely challenging for me, and it challenged my beliefs, it challenged friendships, it challenged my family even at times, and it challenged my ego. Each episode that I have is going to go into detail about something that I have gone through or experienced, and a lot of them are within the past year or couple of years. I think from 2018 and to this year so far, I have completely changed as a person. And if it wasn't for those experiences, I probably would be stuck. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm not stuck. I'm starting to learn who I really am. And that's why I think being vulnerable is so important. How does one be vulnerable? I think just being yourself and telling your story is what it means to be vulnerable. And you never know who you're going to help when you talk to someone about your experience, which I think is going to help me with this podcast and help others as well, to whoever is listening. I just want to put my story out there and let others learn from my experience or listen in. I know we're all guilty of wanting to know what's going on with other people's lives, but I'm creating the platform and I want to be unapologetically me and shameless. There's a lot of stories that I'm going to tell that are controversial, especially my third episode. I gotta mentally prepare myself for the backlash that I could receive. At the end of the day, we're all here to experience this crazy thing called life. I think we should all approach it with little to no judgment. Life would be so boring if you didn't have experiences, or you didn't have stories, or you didn't live out the crazy things you want to do. I've always been one to talk about myself, but not in this capacity, which is another thing that I feel like is what vulnerability means to me. I can talk about myself, but I never really go into detail. It's very surface level bullshit, to say the least. Exactly, to say the least, not being vulnerable. Now, I do want to give a trigger warning for people who are particularly sensitive when it comes to certain topics. This podcast will talk a lot about eating disorders, death, drugs, alcohol, drug addiction, and so on, but I will make sure to put a disclaimer before each episode so that everyone is well informed of what the topics are going to be about, because I know certain things may be triggering to others and I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable with the information I put out. Like I said, I want to make sure that this platform feels like a safe place for others, and I want to help others navigate through their life experiences. But at the same time, I do believe that it's good to talk to other people about the stuff that they went through and the stuff that they've experienced, because it's a lot to carry when you're doing it all by yourself and not talking to anyone. A lot has changed for me this year. I feel like this podcast wouldn't be a thing if I didn't go through all that I experienced in 2022. I went through a huge ego death. That's going to be an episode in itself. I want to give a special thanks to all my friends and my family for constantly supporting me through this experience and helping me stay sane and really pushing me to do this podcast, because I wouldn't have done it without them. And community is very important. It took a lot for me to get to where I am, and I'm very proud of myself. I'm very excited to be experiencing this new journey and continuing healing myself and continuing to surround myself with people who bring out the best in me and challenge me in all the best ways. Thank you guys so much for listening to the first episode. I'm really excited to begin this new journey with you all. So the next 10 episodes are going to be completely solo. I hope to have you along with this journey. Please make sure to subscribe, and listen. Follow wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember to be kind and loving to others. Try not to be super judgmental as best as you can, or keep it to yourself. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much. Okay, love you. Bye.